Here we go.
All right, week 10. And oh boy, the injuries. It's going to take us almost an hour just to go over it. No, I'm just kidding. But welcome to the Fantasy Football Endgame. This is our start sit show that we do each and every week. I'm Pierre, he's Chris, and we are the Endgame. That's it. And our goal each and every day as we produce content for you is to help you win. So let's start. Now, obviously, this is a place where you get to ask your questions about your team because we care about your fantasy team. All right, we got plenty of teams, plenty of leagues. We've been there, done that. We enjoy helping you guys win. That's why we're here. So go ahead, and if you're new to this channel, first of all, welcome. Go ahead and put your question in the comments, but remember, be as specific as possible. Tell us what the situation is, who you're considering. Is it PPR, standard, for whatever reason? Half PPR, do you need a guy for your wide receiver, for your flex? The more detail, the better. We can help answer your question. Now, two other things that go along with that, as always, if you want to kind of skip the line and get your question answered first, of course, don't we all want to be first? Super chat works. If you drop a question in the super chat, Chris will see it right away and we'll get your question immediately and no more waiting in the queue. But even better, consider for probably the same price you will pay to do the super chat. If you join as a patron, then you get, not only will you get your question answered, you'll get it answered on Sunday morning if you can join us then for a show just like this, except a much smaller group, and you get all sorts of questions answered. We go in depth into your team, anything you want. It's a great little group we have going, so consider joining that. It will be worth it. All right. Now that's all out of the way with, where do we start with all these injuries, Chris? Should we start at running back because that's everyone's favorite position?
Yeah, I probably need to start at running back. Yes.
All right, let's see. Start with the most painful or the least. Okay, let's start with the biggest names here first. All right, let's just rip the Band-Aid right off. Alvin Kamara is not playing. So we heard whispers that foot injury, ankle, I think, held him out of practice. When you don't practice all week, that's a bad sign. So sure enough, not going to play. That means Mark Ingram, lo and behold, he was a smart man to go back to the Saints because now all of a sudden he's the starting running back for the Saints again. So definitely want to plug him in. Nick Chubb, just when you thought you had him back, you don't. COVID. So he is out. And Demetric Felton, backup running back, is also out. That means you're going to see a lot of Dearness Johnson yet again. So hopefully you held on to him after last week. So let's keep going here now. Actually, let's go to another running back. Chase Edmonds. We know he's going to be out on IR. That ankle injury for him is serious. Eno Benjamin is the backup. Popular waiver wire pickup. Told you about that in my injury video early this week. You saw that on Monday. So hopefully you got Eno Benjamin. Not saying he's going to be a league winner, but he's a nice fill-in, kind of a flexible guy. You know what I mean? All right. And then the big news of the week. All right, let's get to wide receivers. Odell Beckham Jr. is with the Rams. Good timing because Robert Woods is out for the season. Where did that come from? I know this is not like a Tanya Harding thing. I don't think OBJ, well, is it? I don't know. We haven't heard any reports. Chris, did you have any information on that, right? Did this happen before or after he signed with the Rams?
I think, well, it happened during practice yesterday. I guess he felt something in his knee, but I guess he kept practicing, and then they did the MRI, and they're like, "Oh, you have a torn ACL." So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's very suspicious. No, I don't think. No, but I mean, it's good timing. It's good that the Rams signed Odell because they're going to really need him now. This is terrible timing if you have Robert Woods.
It's amazing the timing that it happened. Just so happened right after Beckham signed with the Rams, Robert Woods out. So yeah, if you did buy Odell Beckham on the low, it turns out to be maybe a really good move. Of course, we'll see what happens. So anyways, Robert Woods, you can drop him. He is definitely out for the season. Chase Claypool, week to week, he's out, and we don't know if he's coming back next week. Don't drop him, but don't play him this week because he's not playing. Let's keep going. Let's see. Antonio Brown, still not back. I think he shed the walking boot, but not getting in much practice. Same thing with Gronk, is not coming back yet. So with Chris Godwin jumping to a questionable, he's questionable. It looks like he will play, should play, but it's still a game time decision. So with Godwin, if we get Godwin questions, it's always probably going to be the same situation. If he plays, you play him. If he doesn't, then, make sure you have a backup ready. I got Tyler Johnson on the ready, a guy that I'm going to throw in there because think about it, with no AB, no Gronk, and no Godwin, Tyler Johnson going to get a lot of targets. All right, let's keep going. A couple more running backs. Chris Carson thought he might come back. He's not. All right. So my advice to play Chris Carson, of course, was contingent on him actually playing, and he's not. So don't start Chris Carson, but Alex Collins is in. So for whatever that's worth. And Damian Harris is out, still in the concussion protocol. Ramondre Stevenson hasn't been ruled out. He's also in concussion protocol, also suffered the exact same game around the same time as Harris. Any breaking news there? We don't know that Stevenson is or isn't playing.
It sounds good for Stevenson. So the last report I saw was he's cleared the concussion protocol and they're expecting him to play, but he's not. It's not like an official he's in type of thing. It's just that he did clear the concussion protocol and is expected to play. That's the last I've heard.
All right, there you go. So definitely Harris out. If Stevenson is in, sounds like a pretty good play, but also Bolden. I actually like Bolden a little bit better because he's going to be the pass catching back. Stevenson is not. So you can consider probably both of those guys depending on the situation. Of course, Stevenson better in standard, Bolden in PPR. All right. These are the fun ones, the questionable that we really don't know until game time because they just won't tell us. Maybe they don't know, who knows. But Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins yet again. Now, what I've heard is that Kyler Murray is he did get some practice in on Friday, but you have to worry whether they just don't care if he's fully healthy or not, that they're just going to play it safe and like rest because of their record. Gut feeling on this one, Chris, we're going to get Kyler Murray questions. I mean, is he an auto start if he does play?
I don't think so. My gut feeling last week was that he wouldn't play and he didn't. My gut feeling this week is that he will play because he did get that limited practice Friday. But look, Colt McCoy was fine last week. I mean, no, he's not Kyler Murray, but he was fine. They still won the game. They still have a great record. They can afford another week of Kyler Murray. Now, is Kyler Murray an auto play if he plays? I don't think so because you got to think with it being an ankle injury, he's not going to have his normal mobility. He's not going to give you those rushing yards that he normally gives you that we like. So he's still, probably a top 10 quarterback in fantasy, but I think there's definitely guys I would start over him this week that I normally would not.
Yeah, it's not a great matchup. Carolina's defense is pretty good. And also I think you're going to try to slow the game down. So not necessarily a smash spot. Of course, even if he plays, if Hopkins doesn't play, that also kind of hurts his appeal. So it depends kind of situation here. The best. Guys who should play: Keenan Allen, he'll be fine. James Robinson missed last week, looks like he'll be okay, but keep in mind that he is still on the Jaguars. And then guys who are in, Russell Wilson is back, so you can definitely put him back in your lineup going in the shootout, hopefully with Aaron Rodgers, who is officially cleared from COVID protocol. Good for him. And then Zach Moss also has cleared concussion protocol. So that kind of kills some of this Devin Singletary vibe there, but we'll see how many touches Moss gets. Look, it's the Jets. They could both actually have big games. And Dawson Knox also is back. So he's a guy, I mean, considering tight end, you got to pretty much put him in there unless you happen to have top 5 guy, in which case, why are you asking? And then finally, T.Y. Hilton. I like this T.Y. Hilton play because going against the Jaguars, look, he actually made some plays his last game before he got hurt again. I mean, there's risk that he gets hurt again. But T.Y. Hilton got some upside, right? He's a guy that you might want to sneak in there as a flex play.
Definitely.
All right. I think that's it. Managed to do that in 10 minutes. I think that was pretty impressed with myself there. Anybody else that we know about? Huh?
I think that's it. I'm sure somebody will ask about a player and be like, oh yeah, we didn't mention him, because it does seem like there's a lot of, but I think those are the main guys, the major fantasy injuries. So good job getting through that so quick. There's a lot of cover.
I appreciate that. And JaMycal Hasty is also out, in case anybody cares.
Actually, I do think that is actually, even though it's not JaMycal Hasty's not a guy anybody's probably starting in fantasy, it does help Elijah Mitchell because Hasty has been running as the third down pass catching back. So either that role is going to go to Jeff Wilson, who, what is Jeff Wilson? I mean, he didn't really even get on the field last week. So is he even really 100%? Or does it just mean more work for Elijah Mitchell, which is what I think it means. So that's definitely actually a good news I don't want to ever say an injury is good news, but it's good for Elijah Mitchell's fantasy outlook. How about that?
There you go. Good news for those who have Elijah Mitchell.
Yes.
And also, I know this just happened. I noticed this late today. Actually, Julio Jones
Oh,
is not
yes.
only not playing, but he's on IR. So you're going to be, unfortunately, without Julio Jones.
I mean,
Of course, if that matters to you at this point, you're probably not making the playoffs anymore.
you've been without Julio Jones all season, so there's nothing new for you.
All right. I think I already mentioned the Patreon thing. Again, guys, we appreciate if you do the super chat. That is definitely going to be helpful to you, but it'll be even more beneficial if you do join as a patron, because you get all sorts of things in addition to that other start sit show. But let's get it started. We're here to help. So throw those questions in there and we'll try to get to as many as we can.
All right, well, let's start with a few of our super chat questions. We appreciate it. And right off the bat, Kyler Murray. So no chill, Kyler Murray. If Kyler Murray is out, Matt Ryan, Teddy B, or Taysom Hill. I mean, not Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill's not. Trevor Siemian's still the starter. I mean, Hill might get a touchdown, like he might get a goal line carry or something and get a touchdown, but that's all you're really getting from him. So Matt Ryan or Teddy B this week.
Yeah, he's not.
If
He hasn't
Kyler
even
is
been
out.
that. I mean, Hill hasn't even been getting on the field, and I don't know if it's because of the time he's missed or whatever. Anyway, so yeah, not Hill. I expect Kyler Murray to probably sit because it seems like that's the mode they're in. You know, it's like, look, we're the best team in the record-wise right now, at least in the NFL, and this is even less important of a game than last week, right? Last week, more important in terms of division, at least. And so now I feel like you said, like Colt McCoy was fine. We can win without him and Hopkins. Let's do it again, right? Going against Carolina, who has been probably one of the worst teams over the past month. Why would they? So I think just keep Murray benched, because even so, he's not necessarily going to give you more points than a guy like Matt Ryan. I like Ryan, should be able to pass the ball against Dallas. I think Dallas actually will score some points this week. And so it's not a guaranteed shootout, you know, but I think Ryan is the guy you're looking for. He's been pretty good. And the fact that he put up decent numbers without Calvin Ridley is reassuring.
Yeah, definitely Matt Ryan out of those two for me. Going against Dallas, this is a great spot for QBs. And then another super chat, Tyler Foley. Thank you. Knox or Zach Ertz in half PPR?
Got to take a chance on Knox. I mean, we saw that he was top 5 tight end before he got hurt. It's not guaranteed that he's going to do that going forward, but I mean, it's the Jets. It's a great spot. So take your chances. It's not like Ertz is doing much. I thought Ertz would have a good game last week. Right? You remember that. I'm guilty of that. Thinking the McCoy Ertz connection without Hopkins, it didn't happen. So why would it happen this week?
Not only that, they had no AJ Green, no DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, that was the spot for Zach Ertz to do something. So yeah, you definitely have to roll with Knox. And the thing about the Jets, they're very good against wide receivers, surprisingly. So that could mean more Dawson Knox this week. And then also asking, he needs 2 between Zeke. This is also half PPR, I assume. Zeke, Melvin Gordon, Singletary, and Alex Collins. So obviously Zeke is 1.
Yeah, Zeke, you got to play, Singletary. Now that Moss is clear, I think we have to back off of him. So I would go with Gordon instead.
Yeah, if Moss wasn't playing, I would definitely go Singletary against the Jets. And I still do like Singletary just because it's the Jets. I mean, we saw last week Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines had big games. They're so bad against the running backs, but Melvin Gordon also in a great spot here. So I think I feel better about Melvin Gordon as well. And then Easy Money Sicilian, what's up? Welcome back. Dawson, okay, full PPR, Dawson Knox or Dearness Johnson?
Interesting. Tight end versus a running back. We don't get that too often. You got to go with Dearness Johnson. I mean, Knox is good for a tight end, but let's not pretend that he's, George Kittle. He's not quite that level of tight end yet. So, Johnson's got the backfield to himself. We saw what he could do. It's Johnson.
Yeah. I mean, he literally has a backfield to himself. Like every other running back, somehow every running back got COVID but him. And it's literally, he's gonna play 100% of the snaps. They're not gonna have any trouble running the ball against New England. New England's actually much better against the pass than the run. They're actually not that great against the run. That offensive line is going to be opening up holes for him. it's going to be a close game. Yeah, I get Dearness Johnson as like a top 12 running back this week. So definitely Dearness Johnson.
Yeah, he's pretty close to, for me, pretty close to RB1 level.
Yeah, definitely Dearness Johnson. All right, Miguel Cordovez, Jerry Jeudy or Mike Williams standard scoring.
I think if it was PPR, then Jeudy might get the edge, but I think you got to go with Mike Williams because the touchdown upside is definitely in his favor. Like Jeudy has been fine, but he's not getting in the end zone. And Williams, yeah, he's up or down, right? I mean, it's hard to say, but he just has that upside. So it's Williams.
Yeah, definitely. And standard scoring is definitely Williams. I mean, what did Jeudy have last week? 63 yards. Mike Williams almost did that on 2 catches, right?
Right.
So, and they're playing the Vikings are missing like 5 or 6 starters on defense. So, I think I had Mike Williams as a boom. I think this is a week where Mike Williams catches a big touchdown because that Vikings defense, they give up big plays anyways, and now they're banged up on defense. So I think definitely Mike Williams here. All right, DH, good to see you. For PPR, J.D. McKissic, A.J. Dillon, or Tony Pollard?
McKissic, I can't love just because I know he's more the pass catching back, and Tampa Bay is all about stuffing the run. But doesn't mean you love him because he's not going to necessarily get a ton of work. He hasn't really had many big games. I don't really know what to expect from Washington coming off the bye because Heineke is just falling off. So I just kind of don't trust the offense in general. I guess that's the problem. And then with Dillon, we never know how many touches he's going to get. In this game, I expected they're going to need Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers will be fresh. Will be fresh after last week. So I don't expect a ton of touches necessarily for Dillon either. So I would probably go Pollard.
Interesting. I was going to say McKissic. I definitely agree not Dillon this week. I liked Dillon last week because it was Jordan Love, and you figured they're going to try to take the ball out of Jordan Love's hand as much as possible. That's not going to be the case with Aaron Rodgers. So I think this is not an AJ Dillon game. I mean, the thing with Pollard is, like, what are you ever really going to give a Tony Pollard? 8 points, 9 points, 10 points. That's it, right? That's it. Like, at least with McKissic, we know if they're losing to the football team and they have to go into the 2-minute drill, garbage time drill, that's McKissic time. And also Antonio Gibson still limited in practice this week, even after the bye. So he's still not even close to it. There's no way he's 100%. So I feel like this is a McKissic game. I feel like this is a game where they're losing and they're just in desperation mode, and McKissic gets 6-7 catches, and in PPR that's good enough, at least compared to these running backs, in my opinion.
Yeah, look, both of them are pretty much game script dependent in opposite ways. Like we saw last week, if Dallas is behind, Pollard doesn't really get involved much. They're gonna have to pass the ball. If Washington is behind big, then McKissic will get involved more. So I guess it depends how you figure this game will go. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Washington is behind, by a couple of scores. So it's close. I feel like with Zeke kind of banged up, I think Pollard will get more involved this week as well, because they realize, hey, we need more balance on offense, right? Maybe we should get the ball to them. They couldn't really afford to do too much last week, but maybe I have too much confidence in the Cowboys this week.
I mean, I like the Cowboys a lot this week, obviously going against the Falcons. I just worry with Pollard. It's just like, yeah, he gives you like 8 points, but that's all he gives you. So I don't know. But it's not like I love McKissic. It's not like McKissic. I'm like, you got to start McKissic.
It's pretty close.
I'm picking between 3 guys I'd like to not play if I could. All right, a super chat from John Wagner. Thank you. Half PPR needs one wide receiver between Kirk. Well, first of all, one wide receiver between Kirk and Renfro in half PPR.
I think you got to go Renfro and not even considering whether Murray plays or not. Like Renfro should be fine. He's got a floor of double-digit points basically in PPR leagues. And last week, if I recall, was his best scoring game of the year for fantasy. And you got to think they're going to throw the ball a lot. Great matchup. So everything points to Renfro.
Yeah, I agree. And then one tight end between Schultz or Dan Arnold.
break out the Dan Arnold. I like him. He's the leading receiver on the Jags some weeks for whatever reason, but it is what it is. And I don't want to put a Jag in my lineup, but if there's going to be one you use, it's Dan Arnold. He's in full PPR at least. He's not going to score necessarily, but in full PPR, I think he's definitely a pretty safe option.
Yeah, and I am a little nervous about Schultz now. I know we had that nice stretch, but Michael Gallup activated off IR today, so he's going to play. There's more targets to go around. That usually hurts the tight end. So, yeah, I'd go down Dan Arnold as well. All right, Anthony Masso, here's an interesting one. Elijah Mitchell or Hunter Renfrow in PPR?
That is interesting. Renfro's a really solid option, and PPR. That's the thing is this is where the JaMycal Hasty being out may actually make a difference, right? Because Mitchell did catch some passes last week for the first time, and now it seems like he'll probably do it again because Hasty's not around. So unless they suddenly decide to put Jeff Wilson in and take away some of his touches, you probably can expect to see Mitchell involved enough. Renfro's a little safer, I guess, but I don't know. I still like Mitchell, his upside.
I agree. I like Mitchell here. I like that upside with no JaMycal Hasty. I think he catches at least 2 or 3 passes, gets the bulk of the work in that Rams. Not the who the Niners play again? Rams, right?
Yeah, they're playing Rams. I think it's Monday night.
Yeah, that Rams run defense is good but not great. So he should have plenty of chances.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about him being completely shut down. I mean, the Rams didn't exactly shut down Tennessee last week. So
exactly. All right, we got a couple more super chats. Tyler Foley again. Take a chance starting OBJ. Well, it would depend on your other options. I would. That seems really risky to me because I know now you look and you think, oh well, now they have to play Odell Beckham, but the guy's only been with the team for a day and a half. He doesn't know every play. He's not going to play 70-80% of the snaps because he just doesn't know what he's doing yet. You know what I mean? Like he's going to play maybe 30 to 40% of the snaps, if that, based on the playbook. So I'm not feeling great about Odell this week.
Yeah, it's tricky. We want to just all of a sudden throw him in there and say, oh, he's taking Robert Woods' place. It's not that simple. And it's not like Sean McVay has one of those like really simple playbooks either. And this is, I know with the receiver, it's not as complicated as being a quarterback or something, but chemistry matters. I mean, obviously we saw that this is Kupp's offense. Kupp's, got the chemistry with Stafford. There's zero chemistry between Stafford and OBJ. It's going to take time. So really you're hoping that he hits on a big play down the field. He might. I mean, it's possible. They just say, all right, go deep and we hit him, but there's a lot of risk involved. It might be a week where Van Jefferson actually outperforms OBJ. It's kind of tough to gauge, but he's basically, I think, kind of equivalent to like a Brandon Ayuk. Like he could make a big play and have a big game, or he could do very little. So
yeah, I'm not trusting Odell this week. It's just, again, he's not going to be on the field that much after being with the team for a day and a half. So I think Van Jefferson this week is going to kind of take on that Woods role. So I do like him as like a sneaky start. But going forward, then obviously it'll probably be Woods. And then No Chill, super chat, thank you. Needs help with 2 wide receivers in PPR. Had Mike Gesicki. It's unfortunate. So he's already got a big 0 in his lineup, so definitely needs some upside here. Landry, Gage, Gallup, Agnew, Myers, and Johnson of the Bucks.
Yeah, that's a list.
Oof.
I think Gallup's probably too risky. Again, coming off injuries, he's healthy and that's fine. But again, we don't know how many targets he's going to get. He's a guy who's just used, run down the field really fast and hope you get it to him. So I think he can do better. Agnew, I mean, what are you really getting from Agnew? That's a desperation play, but I'd rather have some of the other guys there. Myers, well, he's not going to score touchdowns. So no. Did you say Gage? I think Gage was one.
Yeah.
Gage sounds like the most interesting. Is there somebody else I'm missing?
I would definitely take a chance on Gage. I like him this week. And then I would have said Johnson, but with Godwin looking like he's playing.
Yeah.
So probably Landry. Just hope that, I don't know.
I mean, I'm streaming Tyler Johnson in a couple of places, mostly out of need, right? Desperation, because I have to. if Godwin doesn't play, then I think I would go
Yes.
with Tyler Johnson. If he does play, then yeah, I don't love it, but I guess Landry.
Yeah, I don't really love any of these options, honestly. I mean,
True.
Gage is the only one I feel like really could have a big game out of this group. Everybody else, I don't really see a big game out of any of those players. I mean, maybe Michael Gallup if he catches like one long touchdown, but. And then Deion Clark, my guys, Emmanuel Sanders, Brandon Ayuk, Hines, or Landry, PPR. I'm assuming we're picking one of these.
Oh, okay. Can you say him again? I thought I heard
Sanders, Ayuk, Hines, Landry, PPR.
I'm down on Landry this week, so I'm not going to say him. Hines is also just too risky. He's so dependent on game script. Thing is, he got involved because Marlon Mack was inactive because I guess they decided they didn't have to show him off for like the trade deadline, that they didn't trade him anyways, which didn't make any sense. He was inactive for a couple weeks and then they were using Marlon Mack and now he's inactive again. So who knows? But that's a long way of saying not Hines. Sanders really isn't in a great spot because they're not going to need to throw the ball a lot. So who did that leave? Did that leave Ayuk?
Ayuk.
I don't hate Ayuk. I think he's going to get targeted and he's not going to draw most of the attention. He's not going to be smothered, I don't think, by Jalen Ramsey, right? He's going to be on Debo.
Well, that's the thing, because we were talking about this in the Discord, which, by the way, you guys should join down below for free. Check out the link. I don't know, because Ayuk is more of the, I don't want to say the vertical guy because he doesn't really run, but he's more of the intermediate
type,
more of the farther, deeper guy. I mean, he's not like a Mike Williams type, right? But whereas Debo can get like those wide receiver screens, the end around, things like that. I mean, but it's still the whole Rams secondary is good. It's not like,
True.
It's not just Jalen Ramsey. The whole secondary is good. So, yeah, I mean, I do think out of that group, though, I'd probably go Ayuk. I would normally say Sanders, but the Jets, like I said, they just don't give up a lot to wide receivers. You're probably going to need a touchdown for Sanders for him to do anything really this week. So I would probably go Ayuk there as well. Even though I did have him as a trap this week, I think he's better than those options.
Right.
All right, another super chat, XX Rhino 21XX. Judy, Javonte Williams, Darrell Williams in the flex.
I mean, Edwards-Helaire is not playing, right? He's not going to be activated.
He hasn't. That's true. Yeah, he's not, because you have to be activated by 4 p.m. today, and he wasn't activated as far as I know. So yes, no Edwards-Helaire.
All right, because I know he's kind of back, and they're saying he looks good. He might come back, but as of right now, it's still just Darrell Williams and maybe Derek Gore, but
not last week.
Not last week. No. So I think Darrell Williams still, he's got that backfield pretty much to himself. Look, I love Javonte. Everyone loves Javonte. I talk, you see it all over the place. The elusiveness, the broken tackles. He has so many broken tackles, but it doesn't matter if you only get the ball 10 times, right? And Melvin Gordon is still there. And Melvin Gordon is still good. And Melvin Gordon is scoring touchdowns and getting receptions. So even though Javonte's the better player, I'm going with Darrell Williams.
I agree. Darrell Williams, he's pretty close to a workhorse back right now. And if somehow, as we've seen recently, the Raiders, who have been playing well, get out to a lead, he catches the passes. It's not even like Jared McKinnon catching the passes. It's him catching the passes. So you're pretty safe either way there with him. All right, John Wagner, pick 2 between Michael Carter, Javonte Williams, Adam Thielen, Noah Fant, Dan Arnold. Okay. I think Thielen out of that group is a must.
Yes, I was going to say Thielen is a must. I know everyone's panicking after last week because he only had like 6 yards. He still scored a touchdown. He scored like 3 straight games. He's still getting targeted. This will be a much better matchup. So definitely Thielen. I wouldn't start Dan Arnold over Noah Fant. So we can cross Arnold off because Fant is back and he's solid. Okay, so we got
Michael Carter against the Bills, Javonte against the Eagles, and Fant.
Also, did we say is PPR?
He does not say.
I mean, if it's not PPR, you can definitely cross Fant off the list. But assuming it is,
cross Fant off the list.
Huh? You'd cross him off anyways.
Yeah,
probably.
I just can't start a tight end over those guys personally.
Yeah. So it's down to who you feel is going to get more work. Carter against the Bills, you're depending on him catching 8 passes like he did a couple weeks ago, which he might. I mean, he might. But this Jets offense all of a sudden is like gunslinging, throwing it down the field, and I don't know against the Bills. I mean, we're expecting all of a sudden it's going to be a shootout. It might just be the Bills winning pretty big. Some people are expecting Mike White to go for 300 yards. I'm
I
not.
know people think Mike White is going to beat the Bills.
Yeah, and the Bills they suck now all of a sudden because they lost one game. Jackson, like, no, get over it. So I would say in this case, I lean Javonte.
I agree. I like Javante's matchup this week. I mean, obviously he's splitting with Gordon, but I think like you said, Carter's going to do nothing on the ground here. It's going to have to all come from dump offs and falling in the end zone, which Javonte gets passes too, and he can fall in the end zone as well. All right, Jawan Flythe. Apologies if I mispronounced that. Pick 2, full PPR. Elijah Mitchell, Mark Ingram, Melvin Gordon.
I mean, I don't love Mark Ingram this week, but he's pretty close to a guy that you should start. I don't say must start, but I mean, he's going to again get all the touches because Tony Jones has been on IR for a while. They don't really have another back, with Kamara out. It's Ingram. So I think Ingram out of that group based on the matchup, and then Mitchell. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think the first two for sure, Mitchell and Ingram. I agree. Ims 93 with a big time super chat. Thank you. I got Kamara and Woods injured. Need a flex between Gibson, McKissick, Elijah Moore, Emmanuel Sanders, Noah Fant, Christian Kirk in PPR.
Just one?
Yes, one of these guys for the flex.
I think it's going to be one of the first two. And again, this is where I love Elijah Moore, the player, but I don't know that we can trust his target share. Am I right? Corey Davis, we didn't really mention him. He's playing.
He's playing. Yes, Corey Davis is playing.
That eats a little bit into it. And again, the Bills are still, as far as I know, the top ranked defense in the league. So yeah, I'm probably not going to put more out there. So this kind of, to me, it's interesting. It's going to be kind of Gibson versus McKissick. Who do you think is going to do better? And kind of leaning McKissick.
Wow. McKissick is definitely going to do better than Antonio Gibson. I mean, come on. Against the Bucs, injured, losing snaps to Jarrett Patterson. I don't know how you could play Antonio Gibson right now. I kind of like Christian Kirk, though. You don't like Christian Kirk this week? He had a nice game with Colt McCoy last week. And I do think Hopkins is going to sit again because unlike Kyler Murray, Hopkins' injury is he tried to play, he re-aggravated it. To me, that's the guy. They might say, okay, Kyler Murray, go out there and just stand in the pocket. But DeAndre Hopkins has to run, right? He has a hamstring issue. So I think we could see Hopkins sit again for sure, which kind of makes me lean Christian Kirk.
Yeah, we don't know there, obviously. Look, Panthers are one of the best at limiting wide receiver production. They're actually number 5. And lately they've been better. Remember, they got Stephon Gilmore. They just had him a couple of weeks now.
True.
I think they're going to try to slow things down because they don't have an actual quarterback. I mean, they have PJ Walker this week. I don't think Cam Newton's going to play just yet. So I don't know. Carolina is going to be it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. Let's put it that way. It's going to be tough. AJ Green is also back. That's a couple more targets Kirk's not going to get. So it's not feeling, I mean, it is possible, right? He's the kind of guy, he's got the speed. He can always make a big play. It's hard for me to put a lot of trust there.
I mean, I'm okay. I talked about it. I'm okay with McKissick this week. I think it's a McKissick week. Until we see Antonio Gibson at least playing 70%, 60-70% of snaps, there's no way I'm trusting him. I mean, the week before the bye, he played less snaps than Jarrett Patterson. So, and now he didn't come off the bye and oh yeah, he's good now. He had the week off. No, he's still injured. He's still banged up. So, all right, easy money Sicilian again. Dawson Knox or your boy Hawkinson in full PPR.
Got to be Hawkinson, and not just because he's my boy, but it's Hawkinson is the lead receiver there because they don't have receivers. He's still going to come up with a solid season. I know the Lions look like absolute trash that they kind of are before their bye, but they had a chance to kind of regroup and figure out that the only way they could win is to throw it to Hawkinson 10 times. So they're going to do that. Knox is a little risky because, again, are the Bills really going to need to pass the ball that much against the Jets? And what do teams do against the Jets? They run because they don't need to pass. So I like Knox. I think he's a top 10 tight end, but not over Hawkinson.
Yeah, Hawkinson definitely here. Gillard Palilo, apologies if I mispronounced that. Well, what are your thoughts on OBJ? We kind of gave those already, but would you play Judy or Odell this week?
Yeah, you got to go with Judy, even if you don't love his chances of a huge game. But also remember the Eagles, also one of the best at limiting wide receiver production. A lot of that's because Darius Slay, and I'm guessing Darius Slay is going to be all over Cortland Sutton. Might open things up a little bit for Judy. Of course, the rest of the Eagles secondary is still playing pretty well this year. But I think Judy will be okay.
Yeah, definitely Judy. I agree. Let's see. Shelton Mayfield lost Robert Woods. Should I put a claim on Rashad Bateman or just pick up Michael Gallup? Definitely Bateman for me.
Yeah, I like Bateman. I know it was a ugly week in general. It was a Thursday night game. The Dolphins, for whatever reason, decide they want to play defense now all of a sudden. So don't worry too much.
Yeah. Miguel Cordovez, non-PPR, Stevenson or Ingram?
It's got to be Ingram. Even if Stevenson is cleared 100% full go, he's not going to get the same number of touches as Ingram. So,
and here's the thing. Ingram had five targets last week with a healthy Kamara. Like Trevor Siemian is a dump off machine. In fact, in the 2 games, because I was talking with my friends about this, in the 2 games Trevor Siemian has started, Kamara and Ingram have combined for a 24% target share. That's like wide receiver, high-end wide receiver 2, low-end wide receiver 1 level target share. And there's no Kamara. There's only Dwayne Washington. So Ingram is at least going to get, 4 or 5 catches at a minimum in this game, you got to think. Not to mention that Saints offensive line is really good. And the Titans run defense is not very good. So definitely Ingram. And then here he's got a kicker question, so I'll let you take it. Patriots kicker or Bills kicker?
It's close. I mean, they're both 2 of the top scoring kickers. I mean, I have them actually 2 of my top 3 kickers this week. I always lean towards the better offense, even though I know the Patriots are one of those teams that love to kick field goals. I would stick with Bills kicker.
There you go. Hector Andazola, should I start Teddy B or Kyler Murray? Assuming Murray plays, of course.
I mean, I don't think he will. That's one of those guys, Teddy B, he's not going to do much for you. If they feel good enough to roll Kyler Murray out there, then yeah, I'd put Murray over Bridgewater because, I mean, we know exactly what you're going to get with Teddy B. It's 250 yards and probably 2 touchdowns, which is fine. But I think if Kyler Murray is even on one, bad leg, he could still outdo that.
Yeah, I agree. Teddy B is one of those guys I will not start over Kyler Murray this week. So I agree with that. Christian Carrillo, should I trade away CMC and Keenan Allen for Devontae Adams and Saquon Barkley? That is a stud, a trade full of studs right there.
That's a spicy deal there. I would do it, yeah, because Saquon Barkley should be fine. Fingers crossed after next week. With McCaffrey, I mean, hopefully, but we don't know. You're getting the number 1 receiver now. That's an upgrade for you there because both running backs, there's risk, right? We're not going to pretend, and both have the upside to be the number 1 running back. So I think you take the upgrade at receiver.
Yeah, I agree. And we don't know if CMC is going to go back to his every down role. We know Saquon's going to be the every down guy there because whoever is the Giants running back is the every down guy. That's just how they do it. They did it with Devontae Booker, and they'll do it with Saquon was every down guy the second game after ACL surgery. So we know at least he's going to be the every down guy. CMC could go back to that, but I do wonder if he will because I think they do realize, hey, we can't just run this guy until he dies.
There's also now we have to consider the Cam Newton factor. He's back at quarterback. What does Cam Newton do? He runs the ball, and what does he do the most? It's near the goal line. I mean, there's going to be some vulturing of touchdowns for sure. That did not happen. Well, actually, it did happen with Sam Darnold a couple of weeks.
That's true.
But first couple of weeks. But yeah, still, Cam Newton, Yeah, he'll dump it off still to McCaffrey, but he could steal some running work and touchdowns.
That's true. Tyler Foley, another super chat. Thank you. Ayuk or Jacoby Myers first flex.
That situation, just in a vacuum, I'm always going to pick Ayuk. This week, I'm still going to pick Ayuk.
Yeah, I agree. This week, Ayuk. Emmy Itegby, and I feel like I've mispronounced your name before. Apologies. Brandon Ayuk or Russell Gage?
Well, as much as I like Ayuk, I think Gage is in the better spot this week. And it's hard for me. It's funny. Before the season, draft season, I was all aboard the Gage bandwagon, right? I was one of the ones, he's one of my top sleepers, and he's going to be, it didn't happen. And then he got hurt. And then he came back and he had like 6 catches. And so all over Gage again, and then he got 0, nothing, right? You remember this.
Yeah.
Now,
Yes.
supposedly he was banged up or whatever, and that's why they didn't target him. So then finally last week, some hope again. So I'm if he does nothing again this week, then I'm done, right? I'm not going to keep guessing wrong on which Falcons receiver Matt Ryan's going to target 10 times. But for now, let's assume it's going to be Gage. That's the leading guy. So I'm going to go with Gage.
Yeah, I agree with that. He was the leading. I know Zach Medias had 2 touchdowns, but he only had 3 catches. He just happened to score on 2 of them. You know what I mean? He just happened to score twice. Gage was the leading, well, outside of Pitts, he was the leading receiver. So hopefully that continues, because this is a great matchup against the Cowboys. Smooth Criminal Entertainment super chat: trade Diggs for Deontay and Montgomery in full PPR.
Just Diggs to get those 2 guys.
Yeah, that's it.
Dude, pull the trigger now, immediately. I would take Deontay Johnson over Diggs straight up.
It's getting to that point. It's close. Well, especially with Claypool out now, we could see a big Deontay games. And Montgomery looked great. I know he didn't put up a ton of fantasy points, but he looked great going up against a really tough Steelers defense. So coming out of the bye, you got to feel good about him as a solid every week high-end RB2, maybe even a low-end RB1 right now with all these running back injuries. So yeah, definitely make that deal. All right, Kyle Roberts. This one I think might tear us apart. Knox or Freiermuth?
You know what? I've been bumping up Freiermuth, and the Claypool injury just kind of solidifies. He's a top 10 tight end this week, and look at the matchup. It's Detroit.
Yeah.
Now it's tough because of Knox, but again, people are going to assume that the Bills are just going to put up 35 points against the Jets. Not necessarily true. This is really close for me, but given, I guess, the uncertainty of Knox and how much work he's going to get, I think I go with Freiermuth.
All right, it's not going to tear us apart. I like Freiermuth too. I mean, he's getting all the targets. There's no Chase. Well, he's not getting all the targets. He's getting, for a tight end, he's getting a ton of targets, and for a tight end, and there's no Chase Claypool, which you got to think is going to be more. Now I know Eric Ebron is back, but my thing is, like, I think Freiermuth has taken that job. I think Eric Ebron's job is gone anyway, so I'm not worried about that. Yeah, Knox could catch 2 touchdowns because that's what he does, right? He could have 3 catches for 25 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he's not going to catch 7-8 passes for 70, 80 yards like Freiermuth can do. Plus, Freiermuth can score. So I like Freiermuth as well. So I'm glad to see that that did not rip our relationship apart.
It will not end over a Steelers tight end.
All right, Colin Smith, super chat. Antonio, oh geez. This question makes me want to log off. Antonio Gibson or Jarvis Landry in half PPR. So it's like not even full PPR for Jarvis. It's half. Oh geez. Colin Smith, I'm sorry that you have to make this choice.
That sounded like such a great option, like before the season, right? But
right, you're like, oh, now it's like, oh geez.
I go with Gibson because Landry has not been getting in the end zone, like, at all. And I mean, literally, he hasn't scored this year. He isn't going to be all of a sudden a guy that's going to get used a lot. I get that with Odell Beckham gone, people want to bump him up. Didn't happen last week. Chubb gone, okay, maybe, but it could also be that maybe the Browns just don't score a lot. Maybe their offense just doesn't do as well. This is not probably going to be a high scoring game anyways. And I said it, I believe on our start sit, Landry is just, there's not any upside there. And I know Chris is like, yeah, I've been telling you that for 3 years, but I get it now. All right. I get it. Okay, so Landry is just not going to do anything for you. At least Gibson has a chance to score. I know it's a really bad matchup, but you know he's going to get the touches. You know he's going to get used near the goal line if they get near the goal line. So I'd rather have Gibson.
Yeah, I think sadly I go Gibson here too. I don't like it at all, but at least maybe he scores once or twice. Landry, what do you get? Especially in half PPR for Landry, that's a huge hit to Landry.
Right.
And then Alan Sedano, I don't know if I pronounced that right. He did drop a super chat. But, oh, there's his question. Okay. Jordan Howard, Tony Pollard, Emmanuel Sanders, or DeAndre Hopkins? Well, if Hopkins plays, you got to play Hopkins.
Yeah, I mean, with those choices, if Hopkins plays, even if he's not full go, it's Hopkins. Now, if he doesn't go, oh man, Jordan Howard. Did you say is this PPR?
Did not say if it was PPR or not. So if you could type down there, Alan, if it's PPR or not. I guess we'll just assume PPR.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that makes a difference for Howard because he's not catching any passes. Denver's run defense has been before last week. I know they just crushed Dallas, but they were exposed quite a bit the last couple weeks before then. Are they going to respond the way that they have now because Von Miller's gone? Is it like a rallying point for them? We'll see. But with Howard, if it's not standard, like if it's PPR or even half PPR, I wouldn't go with him. I kind of like Pollard better. Who was the third option?
Emmanuel Sanders.
We don't love Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah. He said it is PPR.
Yeah, so I wouldn't do Howard. If Hopkins plays, it's Hopkins. If not, for me, it's Pollard.
Yeah, I agree. Not a big fan of Pollard, but I'm more of a fan of him than Jordan Howard. And yeah, don't really like Sanders this week like I normally do. But hopefully I don't think Hopkins is going to play though, so I don't want to put false hope in there. All right, Sebastian Mazza, start 2 in PPR. D'Ernest Johnson, Daryl Williams, Terry McLaurin.
Can't bench Terry, and actually should be favorable game script for him. So you got to start Terry, and I'll go with D'Ernest a little bit over Daryl Williams.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with those two as well. All right, let's see. No, we're not doing. We're trying to get to. All right, Daniel Blake needs to pick 2 from Mark Ingram, Zach Moss, and Elijah Mitchell.
Got to start Mitchell right out of that group. Moss. I mean, I guess we're going to assume if Moss plays, he's going to get his usual workload. So he does have the best matchup possible since the Jets are number 1 in terms of most fantasy points allowed to running backs. So probably Moss.
I know that this is tough for me, honestly. I mean, because we've seen the last 2 weeks, it hasn't even been like for a while there was like, oh, Zach Moss, it's his backfield, Devin Singletary. And then the last 2 weeks, it's like, oh, wait, is it Devin Singletary's backfield? Maybe it's not Zach Moss's backfield, but it's the Jets. It's so hard to bench a running back against the Jets. But Mark Ingram is probably going to get 20 touches. He's probably going to catch 5 or more passes. So how do you bench that? How do you bench that?
Yeah.
And here's the thing: people are like, "Oh, Mark Ingram. Oh, Mark Ingram is 4th in the NFL in rushing yards right now. He's not even and since he's gone to the Saints, he's averaging like 4.8 yards per carry because the Saints' offensive line is really good. Like I don't think he's dust.
Yeah, no. I think about it. I'm changing my answer. I'm putting Ingram, and Mitchell.
This is actually really hard for me. I mean, I want to say Ingram and Mitchell easily, but it's the Jets.
Yeah, but you know what? They probably will mix it up between Singletary and Moss at least a little bit. So now Ingram is going to get more touches. I think even though the matchup Tennessee is not great against the run either. They've looked really good the last couple of weeks,
but not against the run. Not against the run. Like even that. The problem for the Rams is they don't want to run the ball. So yeah, they would hand it off to Darrell Henderson, and he would get like 4 or 5 yards, 6 yards, and then they would like incomplete sack or whatever it was. So their defense has been better, but they're still, I think, like the 24th ranked DVOA against the run. So they're still really bad against the run. Yeah. Why did it have to be the Jets? Just such a good. It's like the Jets are like you pull the handle and just money comes flowing out. Like you don't have to do anything. It's like no effort. Like look at this, I'm rich. Like, I mean, Nyheim Hines went off against them. He went off against them. That's why it's so hard for me to sit Zach. I wish Zach Moss was getting like what we saw the first 6 or 7 games, what we saw the last 2 games where he was like dominating the touches. But I'd probably go Ingram and Mitchell too. Honestly, that's my gut. But I'd be crying with Zach Moss on my bench against the Jets because it's so hard to bench a running back against the Jets. So that was a hard choice, to be honest with you. And one of the frustrating things about fantasy football is having to make these tough decisions. So, and then Tyler Foley, another super chat, man. You should just join us on Sunday mornings. Save a lot of money here, buddy. But we appreciate it, but you'd save a lot of money.
You become a Patreon. Check out the description below. Click that link on Patreon. It's super easy. It's not a lifetime commitment.
Trust me. Definitely not. But he's asking about a trade. Who would you prefer, Debo or Metcalf?
That's pretty tough. Tough. You know, I love them both. DK has always been my boy. Now Russ is back. I mean, he's locked in wide receiver 1 the rest of the season, right? Debo has been the number 1 receiver for the first half of the year. The thing is with him, there's a little less certainty just because Ayuk now starting to get involved. Kittle is now back and he's involved. And when is the switch going to happen? You know, is Trey Lance going to start playing because the Niners are falling out of, contention? What if they're not a playoff team? Kyle Shanahan starts feeling his seat get warm. Maybe he gets pressured to put Lance in. Is that going to change the offense? So there's a lot of question marks. Just for that reason, I think I prefer Metcalf.
Yeah, I agree for all the same reasons. I was going to say all that. And Russ is back. Apparently he was throwing 60-yard bombs in practice, so he's fine. So just like what you said, there's no uncertainty with DK. He's, you know what I mean? Whereas you do have that with Debo. So I would also lean DK. And then Ash Rodriguez. Okay, here's Higbee or Freiermuth.
Higbee, well, if it weren't for the Robert Woods injury, then Higbee would be a guy that you can start, considering dropping. But yeah, Woods being out, that helps. I mean, right? They were going to say they were going to run 4 wide sets. Well, obviously they're not doing that now. But
not doing that now.
I still would rather have Freiermuth this week.
Yeah, I agree. I still would this week. I mean, Higbee did get more interesting with the Woods injury because if Odell's not playing a lot, which I don't think he will be, that means they're probably going to run a lot of 2 wide receiver sets because they don't really have a 3rd wide receiver now other than Odell, who's probably not going to play a lot. So that probably means more Higbee. But I still like Freiermuth, especially with Big Ben. Big Ben can't throw more than, like 7-8 yards. So that's good for a tight end.
Good for a tight end. And
then Big Moose. What will A.J. Brown do with Julio out? He's worried with Lattimore. Basically, he's worried about Lattimore. I've heard this a lot. People worried about Lattimore. Lattimore's been really bad this year, other than when he plays Mike Evans. Because it's Mike Evans. It's like Lattimore is like one of the lowest graded corners on Pro Football Focus right now.
Yeah, it's funny. That's exactly why I was going to go look just to prove the point. Lattimore is a talented guy, but he's been up and down. Remember his rookie year, he was amazing. The second year, he was terrible. All right, he just like fell off. And then he came back, had some injuries, but he's been kind of up and down, right? But he's also not a complete shutdown corner, like take you away, like Jalen Ramsey, last couple of years, Darius Slade this year. So I'm not going to bench a stud like A.J. Brown. Who's going to get more targets? Not that Julio Jones was really a factor, but no Derrick Henry, no Julio Jones. Isn't this exactly what you want a guy like A.J. Brown for? So I'm not worried at all. I mean, there's nobody I can think of that I would bench, A.J. Brown for.
No, A.J. Brown, I think, is going to be a second half league winner. The stars have aligned for A.J. Brown. The Titans, even though they were blowing out the Rams last week, threw the ball the most they've thrown it all year in terms of percentage of passes, which, despite what the OC said, was what everybody knew was going to happen. So no Derrick Henry, no Julio Jones. They have to throw the ball more because AP, sorry, but he's dust. Jeremy McNichols is not an every down running back. A.J. Brown is, like we were talking about in the Discord today, like who would I take over A.J. Brown right now? And I said CMC, Saquon, JT, Najee, Dalvin Cook, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, and I think that's it. I think those are the only guys I would take over AJ Brown right now, rest of the season. Like, who else would you take over rest of the season over AJ Brown right now?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's there's no reason to trade him. Like, oh, so no, no, don't. I mean, if someone's trying to sell him in your league, go ahead and buy. I mean, there's nothing. And then just I did look it up while you were talking. If Marshawn Lattimore, in terms of just coverage, just pass coverage, 35th ranked cornerback. Okay, think about the starting cornerbacks in the league, right? There's 30 per team. So he's not even, a CB1, if you want to call it that. So yeah, let's not worry too much about Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah. AJ Brown every week has to be. I don't care about the matchup. I mean, even last week against Jalen Ramsey, he still gave you 11 fantasy points without a touchdown. So, in one of the worst matchups. So not even worried about it at all. All right. Andrew Christensen, Higbee or Ertz?
Now that's a little tougher, mainly because we don't love either one. Let me check right now. I have them pretty close. I do have. Well, I had bumped Higbee down after the Odell news, but now I wonder if I should bump him back up. But San Francisco is pretty tough against tight ends in general. It's kind of a pick 'em, but I'd say Higbee because he's in the better offense. Ertz just hasn't done much, even when he had the opportunity.
Yeah, I say Higbee too, especially with this late breaking, again, with this late Woods news. You got to think it's going to be more. It's going to be a lot of Kupp and Van Jefferson as the wide receivers and Higbee because, again, I just don't think Odell is going to play 80% of the snaps week one when he doesn't know the plays or anything. So I think this week Higbee definitely. And then Jason Olivero, super chat. Hey guys, you're awesome. Thank you. Appreciate you. Half PPR, Adrian Peterson, Never Chenault, or Tyler Johnson in the flex.
That will make you want to log off and not check your computer for a while. Not Adrian Peterson, probably against New Orleans, allowing less than 3 yards per carry, and he doesn't catch passes. So Never Chenault, no AP this week. Got to go Tyler Johnson.
Yeah, we just got some huge news. Ben Roethlisberger is on the COVID list and is out for Sunday's game.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, not that you're starting Ben Roethlisberger anywhere anyways, but this is going to affect Deontay Johnson, Freiermuth. Okay, so is Dwayne Haskins starting a quarterback?
I don't know who the starter is going to be. I'm Mason Rudolph, I assume. Right?
Could be.
I got to assume Mason Rudolph. So does it really change?
It's still okay for Freiermuth.
What's that?
I think that's still okay for Freiermuth.
Yeah, I think that's still okay for Freiermuth. Definitely worry about Deontay Johnson a little bit. Didn't Mason Rudolph start a couple games last year?
Yeah, he has. I just don't know this year because I thought Haskins has come in like in relief a little bit. Let me check. No, he hasn't played this year. Not.
Yeah. How did let's see. How did Deontay do in games with Mason Rudolph last year? Well, the only game he really played where he actually played was week 17. Did Deontay Johnson even play in that game? Let's see.
Yeah, so we don't really have recent action to go off of. So I guess we'll see who's announced, but either way, it doesn't matter. You're not starting any of those quarterbacks, but I think we're going to see a lot of Najee Harris.
Yeah, it doesn't even look like Deontay played in that game. Yeah, definitely going to be a lot of Najee Harris. Najee going to have a huge week now. So, all right, well, there's that. That's interesting. Well, it's COVID. I mean, well, it means he's probably out next week too. Honestly, he's probably out next week too. So, something to think about. All right, Wahab Ali, do I start Odell Beckham or Javonte Williams PPR?
Javonte Williams.
Yeah, definitely Javonte Williams. Let's see. All right, here we get a lot of tight end questions tonight. Rodney Talwee, sorry, apologies if I mispronounced that, which I'm sure I did. Dan Arnold or Dallas Goedert?
No, that's closer than it should be. But I think I'd still go with Goddard. Um, Dan Arnold is going to get some targets, and he's fine as an option if you don't have a better tight end. But Goddard, just always going to have the higher ceiling.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Shia Chabot, which Broncos weapon do you think will perform the best? Cortland Sutton, Jerry Judy, Fant, or one of the running backs?
Not Cortland Sutton for the reasons we've said. He's going to get Darius Slay. Fans hard to really know. He was out last week, and I know it was COVID, so he'll be back until he's healthy and he's fine. He always seems to kind of get banged up, though. I wouldn't put a tight ends over one of their running backs who has much higher upside. If I had to guess who's going to have the best game, I'd say Melvin Gordon, because him and Williams, it's always close, but Gordon is the guy who is getting more red zone looks. So probably Gordon.
Yeah, I think it's either Gordon or Judy for me. I think Gordon has more upside than Judy. So, but I mean, calling any of the Broncos weapons is generous. All right, Kaz is Sear. Apologies if I mispronounced that. Pittman, Drake, Renfro, or Sanders for the flex. Oh, this is easily Pittman.
Pittman's pretty much a must start.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. All right, Monier and wow, we are getting a lot of Javonte Williams questions. Pick a flex, Javonte and McKissick. Javonte Williams, J.D. McKissick, or Van Jefferson?
Ooh, Jefferson's a little too risky, I think, of that group because we could assume that he's going to step in and be the guy who takes Wood's place. He's not Robert Woods, though. And we actually saw, I wonder if it maybe had something to do with their thinking. Was it last week? Jefferson dropped a couple of passes, just didn't look sharp. I think that's part of the reason why they're willing to take on Beckham. So the fact is they did this before Woods was hurt, as far as we know. So it's not like they have, oh, no, we're fine with Jefferson. We have a ton of confidence with him. He's still going to be this kind of boom bust, flex play if you don't have a better option. But I'd rather have Javonte Williams. The Eagles are one of the worst teams as far as points to running backs. They're going to probably limit Sutton and Judy. I think Gordon and Williams are both solid, like Gordon a little bit better, but I'd rather have Javonte.
Yeah, I agree. And do just want to give a quick update. Ian Rappaport saying Mason Rudolph will start. And Field H reporting that Ben Roethlisberger, I don't know what name that was. Ben Roethlisberger recently told Dan Patrick on the Dan Patrick show that he is vaccinated, meaning he probably will only miss this game because the vaccination rules mean if after 5 days you don't have any symptoms and you test negative, you're fine and you're good to go. So chances are we will see Ben Roethlisberger back next week, more than likely. But for this week, it is Mason Rudolph, which I do think hurts Deontay to some degree. Don't know if it really hurts Freiermuth, maybe. Obviously helps Najee. I don't know if Najee needs any more help, but it does help Najee. All right, Midnight 201 needs to start two. Devonta Smith, James Robinson, or Freiermuth.
I mean, there's a lot of risk there with all those guys. Now, like Freiermuth, don't like him quite as much now, but still, I wouldn't start a tight end over those guys. I mean, Devonta Smith definitely has a lot more upside. I'm leaning towards Smith.
You got to start two.
Oh, we're starting two. Okay, so Devonta Smith would be one.
Come on. I know he's a Jaguar, but come on. You're going to sit James Robinson for Freiermuth with Mason Rudolph? Like if it was your team and you're looking at James Robinson and Freiermuth with Mason Rudolph, you're like, Freiermuth, let's go.
I've been calling Robinson a bust all and then must sit all week. So it's like, all right, am I really going to start him? I mean, yeah, I'm not going to start a tight end over running back. I'm not expecting a big game at all from Robinson.
But I mean, Robinson can get you like 10 points, right?
Maybe.
I mean, that's a big game for a tight end. Let's be real.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess the news, with Roethlisberger being out, yes, gives Robinson the edge.
All right, Brody Quinn. With Woods out, I'm down to Ingram, Singletary, and Ayuk at the flex.
Oh, so in this case, you go Ingram. That's a pretty solid pick. I mean, he could be that RB2 for fantasy.
Yeah, definitely like Ingram out of that. Okay, and this one, it doesn't even pain me as much as it normally would this week because it is a tough matchup. But Jonathan Compton, Jalen Hurts, or Matt Ryan?
I believe I did have Jalen Hurts as my bust, so I have to stick to my guns. I got Matt Ryan ranked higher.
Oof. This is really tough. This is close for me. If it was my team, I'd probably go Jalen Hurts. And I think that I am in a league where Matt Ryan is on the waiver wires and I'm still playing Jalen Hurts just because of that rushing. At least I feel like safe. Like I know Jalen Hurts won't completely crush my week. Like Matt Ryan's in a great spot. He should have a great game. But Matt Ryan, if he doesn't, if he goes out there and lays an egg, he's going to crush your week. So like Jalen Hurts can throw for 100 yards and still get you 12 or 13 or 14 points.
I don't know. That's what I was saying. Is
That's what he did. That's what he did. That's what he did 2 weeks ago. He got you almost 12 points with like 115 passing yards and no touchdowns.
But the Broncos allowed the least amount of
Oh,
rushing yards to quarterbacks. They have even
true.
Lamar Jackson against them didn't run for anything. So that's what my worry is. He's now throwing the ball fewer than 20 times a game. And so if he's not going to run the ball, he might not run the ball effectively this week. So that's my worry is this defense. Like next week, I'll put Hurts back in and be fine. But this week, nope.
Yeah.
But go with your gut.
Go with Matty Ice, but man, always scary seeing that name in your QB position. All right, we did that one. Let's see. All right, so Zippy's our first like actual trade, like asking. Well, I guess we had a super chat trade question, but Aaron Jones and Mike Williams for Hollywood Brown and James Robinson.
The first side for sure for me.
Yeah, I think I do like Hollywood Brown much more than Mike Williams, but I like Aaron Jones much more than James Robinson. So I'd go with the running back because it's just harder to find an Aaron Jones than it is to find a Hollywood Brown type. John Campbell, full PPR, Jacoby Myers, Never Chenault, or Tim Patrick. Wow. That's a group.
I think Patrick got banged up at the end of last week, but I guess he's okay. But you can't love his chances in this game. So I guess Myers. I don't love Myers, but I guess out of that group, I would go Myers.
Yeah, I think out of that group, you do have to go with Myers, but do not love it. Andrew Stout. Apologies. I know I butchered that. Corey Davis, Marvin Jones, or Alex Collins, PPR needs one.
If it's PPR, then I'm going to fade Collins there. So Corey Davis just not in a good spot. I don't think you can roll with him based on the matchup.
So you're picking a Jaguar.
No, I'm going to not answer. And I'm going to say I wouldn't pick Corey Davis or Alex Collins.
You're just going to leave that. You're going to leave your zero. You're going to take a zero in your flex this week.
There you go. I'm just going to keep it empty. No.
Okay.
I guess.
So I definitely think, not that I'm super high on Marvin Jones this week, but I definitely think out of this group is Marvin Jones. Indy is actually a very good matchup for wide receivers. Unfortunately, he's on the Jaguars, but at least he's got the good matchup. Whereas Corey Davis against the Bills, no thank you. Dude's probably going to need to score a touchdown. Alex Collins, I mean, we saw even for the bye, this was like a four-headed monster of running backs, right? So, and it's PPR, so no thanks to that one. All right, a defense question. Jonathan Compton, Saints defense or Tennessee defense? Oh, so basically, which side of this game do you want the defense for?
I mean, the way Tennessee defense has played the last couple of weeks, it makes you wonder. But I would still go to the Saints defense. Definitely a better group. The Saints, even with Simeon at quarterback, they're not turning the ball over crazy. He's a game manager. He knows how to do it. Tannehill, of course, isn't a guy who throws a ton of picks, but he does get sacked quite a bit. So I would stick with the Saints.
Yeah, I gotta go Saints. They're just the better. I'm not sure if I'm buying into the Tennessee defense yet. Let's see what happens. I mean, obviously it's the Saints, so they could have another good game, but let's see what happens. All right, Alice Young, Odell, Christian Kirk, AJ Green, Boston Scott, or Jarvis Landry in PPR. Pick two of those.
Pick two. Do I have to? All right.
Yeah.
In this case, I'll go Christian Kirk. Not
I
Boston.
honestly go with the Cardinals wide receivers, especially if Hopkins is out.
You could. I mean, you could. Look, if Hopkins is out, okay, well, let's say hypothetically, what if Murray and Hopkins are both out? With Colt McCoy there, you go Kirk and AJ Green. You're putting all your eggs in the Colt McCoy basket.
Well, am I going to put my egg in the Jarvis Landry Baker Mayfield basket?
No,
I'm definitely not putting it in the Boston Scott basket.
definitely not Boston Scott.
I mean, am I going to take a chance that Matthew Stafford hits Odell for a touchdown in the very first game they play together?
I think I might. I think I feel better about that than Jarvis Landry scoring a touchdown. So AJ Green, I mean, I wouldn't start both Cardinals receivers unless Kyler Murray was playing, and even then, I'd be kind of iffy about it. So for me, I'd probably go Kirk, Beckham.
All right, you like living on the edge. I mean, at least Beckham is tied to a good offense and a good QB, but I do really worry, like, how much is this guy really going to be on the field? You can't just have him out there when he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, he doesn't know your plays. He doesn't know the blocking scheme. He doesn't know, like, you can't just have him out there because now he's a liability, right? You can't just have him out there like, hey, I'm just going to roll. Like, I'm just going to, like, if you play football, like, with your friends in the backyard, like, just get open, I'll find you. Like, that's not how it works in the NFL, right?
You do this, you go this way, you go.
Yeah, that's how it works in the NFL. So I do worry about how much he plays, but yeah, it's not like I'm excited about the two Cardinals. I mean, that's a group that I really don't want to have to play. So DH, TY, or Jamal Agnew. I think this is pretty easy for us.
Yeah, I like TY's chances. I think he's a pretty sneaky flex play too. Did you have him as sneaky start this week?
No, I think you had him as a boom.
Oh, I think I put him.
You had him as a boom. Yeah, you had him as a boom. Marvin Lewis, super chat. Standard scoring. Marvin Lewis, Marvin Lewis would play in a standard scoring league. If Marvin Lewis played fantasy football, it would be a standard scoring league. But I don't think this is that Marvin Lewis. Standard scoring needs to start 2 and a flex. Aaron Jones, yes. DeAndre Swift, maybe. Elijah Mitchell, probably, or Alex Collins. I say no Collins.
No to Collins.
Yeah, start the other 3. No to Collins. Even though I don't like Swift as much as standard, he's still better than Collins. All right, let's see. Donzo513 trade question. Someone offered me CeeDee Lamb for Montgomery. So see, these are the kind of trades that I like, because these are trades that make sense. If you have a few good running backs, like if you somehow drafted Jonathan Taylor, Najee Harris, and then you got Montgomery in like the 4th round, and your wide receivers are terrible because you drafted JT, Najee Harris, and David Montgomery in the first 4 rounds, then this trade makes a ton of sense. So these are like the perfect trades. This is how trades should be. We get these trade questions in like the Discord. It's like, I give up, Devin Singletary and, Jamal Agnew, and I get DK Metcalf and Aaron Jones. What do you guys think? It's like, what kind of trade is this? You know what I mean? This is actually a good trade. So basically what I'm saying is, if you need a wide receiver really bad and you're okay at running back, take CD. If you don't have any running backs, you got to keep Montgomery. That's how this trade.
Yeah, it depends on your roster makeup, but that's exactly right. Trades are supposed to be win-win, right? Both teams, it's supposed to benefit both teams. That's kind of the idea. That's why both sides want to trade. Yes. If you're just trying to fleece your league, I mean, if you can, sure, more power to you. But if you're always trying to win and you're trying to always just get something at an edge, no one's going to want to trade with you after a while because they realize that you're, kind of a jerk. So yeah. Don't think of it as you always have to do what makes sense for your roster. So yeah, if you need a running back more, Montgomery, if you have enough running backs, which is doubtful, then CeeDee Lamb's probably fine.
Yeah, or the trade where it's like wide receiver for wide receiver or running back for running back. I'm like, this doesn't help you. This is just coming down to who you think will be better between the two. It's like that doesn't help your team. Like stop making those trades. But anyways, let's see. Oh boy, Neil Fields. Would you drop Sutton for Mooney?
I mean, I wouldn't pick up Mooney during his bye week, but even besides that, I wouldn't do that going forward. I mean, there's nothing this Bears offense has necessarily shown that would make you too inspired by it. We haven't heard Allen Robinson did get banged up at the end of the game, right? The very end of last week, but we haven't heard that he's out for like an extended time, have we?
No, and they're on their bye this week. So with them being on their bye this week, we won't hear anything because
yeah, they're not practicing.
Yeah. So okay, let me get come on. Kel's 22, Terry McLaurin or Brandon Ayuk. I mean, this is definitely Terry McLaurin.
Easily Terry McLaurin.
Oh boy, this is where we're at. Dranol Raphael, apologies if I mispronounced that. I'm sure I did. DJ Moore or AJ Green?
I mean, I'm down on DJ Moore, especially this week, but I'm not that down on DJ Moore. You still go DJ Moore.
Yeah, you still got to go DJ Moore. And then Stephen C. Super Chat, although you do have a Sacramento Kings. But you know what? As a Laker fan, I feel like I should answer your question because
like throwing you a bone because I feel bad.
Yeah, like, hey, okay, I'll answer your question.
Sympathy.
Just kidding. Super Chat, PPR. Let's see. Well, let me get. So I guess he's asking. Well, first he has a trade question. Traded Devontae Adams for AJ Brown and James Conner. Good or bad trade?
You got AJ Brown and James Conner.
Yeah.
Well, then that's a win because I mean James Conner now is looking like a really solid RB2 rest of the season. So
I don't know about rest of the season.
I mean, Edmonds out what 4 to 6 weeks, isn't it?
Well, they said today they finally put him on IR today, and they said the hope is that he comes back right away. But we've heard that before. But even if it is 6 weeks, we're only talking what? Well, 6 weeks would be what, week 16. That's pretty close to league winner. I mean, he could be back like the last couple of weeks. So, yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to say James Conner. I'm also not ready to. Let's see how James Conner gets used tomorrow. I feel like people are a little too high on James Conner right now, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, maybe look, the difference between Brown, you were just talking about AJ Brown, right? Talking him up, he could be a league winner down the stretch.
Yeah, for sure.
The difference between Devontae Adams, AJ Brown might not be that much, if at all. And so you're getting a starting running back.
Yeah.
In addition to that, that's a win.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that's a good trade for you. And then, so he needs 2 running backs, 2 wide receiver, and a flex. So let's do the running backs first. Darrell Williams, Michael Carter, James Conner, Damian Harris is out. So I think we both agree your 2 running backs are going to be Darrell Williams and James Conner, right?
Yeah, you got to start Conner.
And then 2 wide receivers, AJ Brown, Deontay Johnson, who now would no longer an obvious, Ayuk or Beasley. I still think I go AJ Brown, Deontay. How about you? Yeah.
Yeah, I still start Deontay.
And then so flex would be between Michael Carter, Brandon Ayuk, or Cole Beasley.
Can't trust Beasley. I'd rather have Carter in there. Between Carter and Ayuk, I mean,
I know, right? The flex is
Ayuk, you're depending on a big play, right? He could be involved. He's got some ceiling, even against the Rams. He does. He's got a higher ceiling than Carter.
Yeah.
But also the lower floor. So I guess it depends on the degree of risk that you want to take. And hearing the rest of your starting lineup, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'd probably go with Carter.
See, I was going to go with Ayuk for the reason you said. I feel like with Darrell Williams and James Conner and then AJ Brown and Deontay Johnson, your team has a really high floor. So I would shoot for the ceiling with Ayuk and hope he has a big game. I just don't see, even if Carter catches, let's say 6 passes, but he gets 6 passes for 40, 50 yards. Maybe he runs for 30 yards in this game. I mean, you know what I mean? Like Like I feel like that's the ceiling in this game, unless he falls in the end zone. So I might go with Ayuk. So just based because of his team, because I do feel like his team has a very high floor. So, anyways, we're about hour and 20 into it. Should we start lightning rounding this?
Yeah, might as well. So again, if you don't get your question answered in time, or you just want more time, again, you want to talk trade, waiver, dynasty, whatever, join us tomorrow morning. You can do that by becoming a patron. So check out information below, and let's get to the lightning round.
All right, so I'm gonna try to get to some questions about guys we haven't talked too much about because obviously if you've been listening, you kind of know how we feel about certain guys. So let's go. Ju Zhao, apologies if I mispronounced it, which I'm sure I did. Half PPR, Deontay Johnson, Keenan Allen, Goddard, or Knox?
Keenan Allen,
Yeah,
a little bit over
especially with
Deontay.
especially with Ben news.
Yeah, I would have said Deontay over Keenan, but now I think I'm going Keenan.
Yeah, we got a super chat, Michael Hosh. Thank you. PPR needs a flex. Van Jefferson, Kenyon Drake, or Ramondre Stevenson?
Did it say PPR?
No. Yes, said PPR. Okay.
Yeah, so not Stevenson. He's interesting if he plays and Harris doesn't, but not over the others. I've talked Kenyon Drake up this week. People don't realize for, I think, 3 straight weeks, he's been a top 12 running back in PPR. Yeah. He's getting catches. He's getting as much usage almost as Josh Jacobs. And this should be a high-scoring game, so I'm all over Drake.
Yeah, I like Drake out of that group. Not doing, let's see. Again, I'm just scrolling through here, guys, trying to find players we haven't really talked about. Let's see. Oh, here's an interesting one. Hillside, Cordero Patterson or DeAndre Swift?
That's a tasty one. Cordero Patterson is one of my guys. I think you have to keep rolling him out there. Swift is not a good matchup against the Steelers. We're fading running backs against Steelers defense typically. Yeah, Patterson is going to still be the main guy in that offense.
I think this is another close one too. Henderson or Ingram?
Go with Henderson. I think they're going to be in better shape than they were last week. Don't know what happened last week. Like I said, Tennessee's just inspired. Good loss of Henry, but I think Henderson will be fine.
I kind of am leaning Ingram there, but I get it if you want to play Henderson. He's definitely safer. Definitely safer. Although maybe with Woods out, maybe they run it more. Here we go. Lisa Lou, Matt Stafford, or Aaron Rodgers?
Now that's interesting because, again, Woods being gone and the shift to Odell Beckham, who knows what that'll do. But I like Rodgers better anyways this week. I had him ranked higher initially. I'll stick with that because, I mean, look, he's fresh. He had a week to chill and do interviews and not have to worry about football. So, yeah, he'll be good.
Mikey 214, Debo or Dalvin Cook?
You have to pick one. Like you can't start both. There's not a world where. Okay, Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, definitely Dalvin Cook. Let's see. I mean, this is I feel like we talked about these guys, but this is a close one. How do we feel? Dearness Johnson or Elijah Mitchell?
Yeah, that is really close. I mean, they're both going to get pretty much all the work in that backfield. So the matchup advantage slightly goes to Johnson. So even though I like Mitchell better as a player, I think this week I give the slight edge to Johnson.
I do too. Not only does the matchup edge on his, but the offensive line is a monstrous edge for Dearness Johnson. Yeah. Like a monstrous edge. Super chat from Paul Miller, Tyler Johnson, Gallup, or Deshaun Jackson? PPR.
I mean, all very similar type of guys, right? It's like home run hitters. Either they're going to, hit it out of the park or swing and miss. I don't think we can trust Deshaun Jackson. We don't know what he's going to do in this offense yet. We haven't seen him on the field. I get the matchup. It's tempting, but I don't think I would put him in over Gallup. Gallup's also risky. So what would the first one say again? So make sure.
Tyler Johnson.
Tyler Johnson.
Who I think would have been the pick. But
Yeah, I think he still is the pick for me because I don't know that I would trust Gallup over him because I think he's still going to get work with Antonio Brown out, Gronk out, and this Washington defense. I kind of like Tyler Johnson this week.
I kind of like out of that group. I like Gallup just because it's the Falcons. They really only have one good corner, and so I know. I mean, they're all risky, right? Especially with Guy. If Godwin wasn't out, I would say Johnson, like for sure, Johnson. But the risk with Johnson is that Godwin's fine, plays a bunch, and it's just him and Evans doing everything. So, but of course, the risk with Gallup is that it's Cooper and Lamb doing everything. And the risk with Djax is it's Djax. So, risky either way. And then I had one. Okay, here we go. Because this one did kind of upset me that this question was asked. Dale Jadu, Taylor Heineke, or Jalen Hurts?
It's your boy or your team?
It's Jalen Hurts. Come on.
It's Jalen Hurts. Yeah.
It's a terrible matchup for Jalen Hurts, but still, I'll trust Jalen Hurts over Heineke. Ingram or Amari Cooper in a full PPR?
I'm feeling Cooper this week. I know Terrell's been good at corner, but still, the Falcons are not shutting teams down. I think they'll get back to their identity. The Cowboys will on offense. Cooper is boom bust, right? And so this week, I'm feeling the boom.
And then Sean Webster, Emmanuel Sanders, which you did get a lot of questions about, or Deontay Harris, we have not gotten a question about.
I like Harris this week and talked about that. He's the guy the last couple of weeks has been leading this team in targets. There's, it's not exciting with Trevor Siemian at quarterback, but with Kamara out, they're going to have to pass the ball more. So Harris, he's not going to be what he was with Jameis Winston, right? Where it was like a 70-yard touchdown or nothing. He's going to get several targets, not for a ton of yards, but that's still something. And he has a chance to get in the end zone because Tennessee's defense gives up the most fantasy points to wide receivers. So it's a great spot for him. And he's the leading target on the team. So yeah, I really like Harris this week.
All right. And my mistake, Paul Miller, it was not Tyler Johnson. It's Ty Johnson of the Jets, Michael Gallup or Deshaun Jackson, full PPR. My mistake.
Okay. In that case, it's Michael Gallup.
Yeah, definitely Gallup. And then I saw an interesting, here we go. Antonio Gibson or Jordan Howard standard scoring.
Oh man. That makes me want to hit my head against a brick wall. Antonio Gibson, at least what he can do with the ball in his hands. Howard is so touchdown dependent. He's been running good. Don't get me wrong. But still, I like Gibson.
Thielen, Mike Williams, or James Robinson in the flex?
Thielen. Yeah,
Thielen. Let's see. Again, I'm trying to look for guys we haven't talked about because a lot of the. Okay, here's the. Would you pick up Eno Benjamin and drop either Samaje Perine or CJ Uzama? This is for Dynasty. This is Dynasty.
Oh, yeah. Unless you need a backup tight end, Uzama's droppable. Yeah. And unless again, like if you have Mixon and Perine is your handcuff, then I would drop Uzama instead. But yes, I would pick up Benjamin. In fact, I did that in one of my dynasty leagues the other day. So this is a good time to flip him. You pick him up, you flip him to somebody else.
Yeah, especially if he has a nice game this week. Trade him. Let's see. Again, I'm looking guys here for Landry or Bateman rest of the season. This is very easily Bateman for me. Wentz or Matt Ryan?
For this week, gotta like Wentz. I think he's a top 12 quarterback.
Yep. Wow. Mahomes or Herbert?
Got them both. Maybe went quarterback too early. I don't know.
Obviously.
If it's a single quarterback league, then you don't need both those guys. This week I have Herbert higher. Look, Vegas, that defense, that secondary, especially, they're good. Mahomes has
True.
not been himself. He is not. He's not throwing touchdowns. Let me say it again. Pat Mahomes is not throwing touchdowns. He has, I think, like 3 in the past 4 weeks or something crazy. I mean, that's got to be Herbert.
All right, Alex Stamey, what's up? Super chat. Let us know, is this PPR or not? Deontay Johnson, Darrell Williams, or Mark Ingram?
I mean, it would have been Deontay Johnson for sure. Mason Rudolph news, I mean, that is a little worrisome. I'm not going to lie. But it's still Detroit, right? I mean, it's still pretty easy matchup. So I'm leaning towards Deontay Johnson if it's full PPR. If it's not, then probably Ingram.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like Big Ben is out there slinging it.
But he looks for Johnson. Like when he's out there, that's his guy.
Yeah, this isn't like last week where Devontae Adams had to play with Jordan Love. Like,
well, I don't know if Mason Rudolph is like a big step above Jordan Love.
But what I mean is the difference between Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love is significantly greater than the difference of Big Ben and Mason Rudolph right now. True. Like significantly greater. So, true. And Mason Rudolph is at least as good as Jordan Love. I mean, Jordan Love looked like a deer in headlights. No, all due respect, but he looked lost out there. So
yeah, and
I don't think Deontay Johnson is going to completely crash. It's not like Deontay Johnson needs like the ball put in perfect spots and great throws to be made for him. He's not like if Chase Claypool is playing, I would say do not start Chase Claypool now because Mason Rudolph will not be able to get the ball to Chase Claypool. So yeah, I think you can still go with Deontay Johnson there. All right, let's see. Keep scrolling. Think of time. Oh, here we go. Brandon Bolden or Michael Carter? I like this one. These are my kind of running backs that nobody wanted. And now we're like, let's go. It's week 10. Let's go. Let's start these cast-offs. Did
anybody, even in best ball, did anybody draft Brandon Bolden? No.
Not really.
And now you're starting him. And I'm starting him in a couple leagues. I like Bolden this week. I think I talked about that. Had him as a boom pick. I know Stevenson might play, but again, Stevenson is not a pass catcher. Bolden is. And Bolden does get goal line carries. Like I think I mentioned this too. Damian Harris is 4th in the NFL in red zone carries, 27 red zone carries. All of those now will go to either Stevenson and or Bolden. So we know Stevenson's a big back. He'll probably get some. But who do they trust more in the goal line? Stevenson, who has fumbled this year, and Bill Belichick hates fumbles. And he's a rookie. Or Bolden, who's been around there forever. So I think Bolden has a chance to score a touchdown. That's pretty solid. He's going to catch some passes. I think he's got a chance, not a huge week, but a decent week.
Yeah, I do like Bolden this week. Again, I'm down on Michael Carter this week. Like he's going to have to catch a zillion passes to really do anything.
Yeah,
all in the end zone. So let's see. Again, we'll do.
One thing I will say with Carter, at least he does have, the speed and like the breakaway ability. He could, make a big play. Bolden's not going to do that. Like, you will catch Brandon Bolden in the open field. Carter could take one to the house, but again, you're hoping and praying for that. You got to chase the volume as opposed to you can't chase hope.
Yeah, you can't really chase hope. Odell or Beasley this week?
As much as I don't like Beasley, I'd probably go Beasley.
Yeah, I agree. Is Booker droppable at this point? Yes, unless you have Saquon. I might keep him if I have Saquon.
I mean, he's droppable, but don't drop him just for the sake of dropping him because, knock on wood, who knows? Barkley gets hurt again. And
that's true. Or, we hear these things, right? Like the guy's supposed to be back and they're like, it's still another week or two. Like you never know with these things. So I wouldn't drop him just to drop him. Right. Now, if there's somebody on your waivers, it's worth picking up for sure. Ramondre Stevenson or Alex Collins in PPR?
Probably Collins just because he's going to get more work. And like I just said, Brandon Bolden's probably going to get more touches than Stevenson. So Collins, chase the volume there.
Yeah. All right. Let's do one more. Actually, let's do, let's see. All right, we gotta finish with a defense question, right? Gotta finish with a defense question. So here we go. Bills or Cardinals?
I mean, how do you not start the Bills against the Jets, right? Unless you're one of those people who has Mike White and thinks that he's going to put up 300 yards, it's got to be the Bills.
Yeah, even last week they still got you 10 fantasy points and loss, and that's not happening this week against the Jets. So yeah, I got Bills as number one defense this week. I don't know against the Jets. All right, guys. Thank you as always. That was interesting. That was exciting. We got the Big Ben news during it. So good luck this week. Don't forget, if you didn't get your question answered, or if you dropped a bunch of super chats and you want to save some money, check out the Patreon link down below. You can join us tomorrow morning, 2 hours before kickoff, for our private show. Probably will have more news by then too, so we can give you even better answers. Any last words, Pierre, before we go here?
That's a lot. And especially you're going to see this throughout the season as the second half and the fantasy playoffs come. A lot of game time decisions, a lot of last minute news and starts it. That's why we wait till Sunday morning. Typically, now that we have two shows, that is for our patrons. So again, you want to join us, we'd love to see more of you there. So that's a way that you can support us besides just subscribing, but also get more help. And again, that's why we do this, try to help you out. So appreciate you. Let's keep it going, guys. The fancy playoffs are just around the corner. So
yeah,
good luck in week 10.